Hello, everybody, and welcome to Monster Madness 6 live show. And we, with my buddies, Cinematic Sterling and KitchenAid Whiskey Jones, we are going to be discussing underrated and overrated horror movies. Does anybody want to say anything before we start?
You're lagging.
Okay. Can't exactly fix that now. Let's start. So, first, with an underrated film, then an overrated film, then an underrated, then an overrated. If we have extra time, we will discuss more, but for the time being, we'll do two and two. Now, with this, I wanted to start off by saying, movie I just saw last year that I think does not even get close to enough credit, and that is 1981's The Fan. Now, The Fan, not the Robert De Niro Wesley Snipes movie from 1996, but the movie with Lauren Bacall, James Garner, and Michael Biehn in a very early role before he got famous with The Terminator. Now, this movie is just excellent from beginning to finish. It is the best Brian De Palma movie that Brian De Palma did not direct. It, from the opening scene and the opening score, just immediately hooks you in. Immediately. It is just the personification of a psychological thriller. Michael Biehn is at his peak here, almost. I'm obviously Terminator and Aliens, they're amazing, but here he showcased his talents as an actor. He showed that he's the tough action guy, but here he was like almost like this simple, little quiet, introverted, but with like darkness behind the eyes sort of thing. And he just owned it. Owned it. There is some like weird subtext with like possibly homosexuality. I personally didn't see it. There is one scene where he does have oral sex with a man, but I don't know if that meant something more or it's a spoiler, so I won't mention it. But I don't know. I just didn't feel that. But like overall, this movie does not even get close to enough credit. Um so like I just think it's one of the best. Like it's not like I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite movies or anything like that, but I do think it is underrated. Now, has anybody else seen it, or do neither of you know what I'm talking about? Okay, well, I do highly recommend it. I think just for Michael Bihn's performance alone showcases his talent as an actor. He is brilliant in this movie. I do think Lauren Bacall needs no introduction, neither does James Garner, but both are also very good. However, it does kind of fall apart in the last act, and Lauren Bacall cannot fucking sing. The whole movie is about like she's like opening up a musical trying to get like a comeback, and it like and she like sings in one scene and it's not good. But outside of that, it's very well done. I forgot to mention the story, but the story is Michael Biehn is the fan. He is the fan of this older actress played by Lauren Bacall, to the point of like obsession, and eventually starts killing for her affection. It is the pinnacle of the obsessive fan trope, just done so well and done. I wouldn't say perfectly. It is a flawed movie, but everything I've seen for it, it's like, oh, it's okay. Oh, it's a decent thriller. All this stuff, and I'm like, it's so much better than that. It is so much better than that. It really deserves all the praise, and I think it absolutely needs to get rediscovered again. And I think it is expertly expertly well done. Now, Mark,
It's,
yeah,
I just had a thought. I mean, that you said 1981, right?
yes,
It's interesting because I don't know if that's on purpose. I doubt it, but it's interesting because that is the year Reagan was shot by John Hinckley Jr. by John
yeah,
Hinckley,
and it
who
was a and it
obsessive
was a
fan.
and it was a year after John Lennon got shot.
Yes, exactly,
So
exactly. Mark David Chapman.
I think it was. I don't know if I would say it's ahead of its time because
Mhm.
it came out at a wrong. I think it was right movie, wrong place
Yes,
because
exactly.
it had a lot of stuff. A lot of
Mhm.
people called it a cruel shock show. I think
Yeah,
Gene Siskel did, but
yeah,
like, what the fuck did Siskel and Ebert know? Um, and oh, it's nothing but violence. It's this and that. It's really not that violent. Maybe because
yeah,
I'm younger and have been desensitized to a lot more shit.
yeah,
But it's really not that like shocking or
yeah,
violent or anything
yeah,
like
yeah.
that. It still has some creepy, tense scenes, but very tense, very suspenseful. I would say try to look up the opening on YouTube if you can, because that opening, ironically, speaking of Brian De Palma, the composer for The Fan, did Carrie
Yeah.
and worked with Brian De Palma, and it's um oh god, that's good. It's like just so simple, really stylized, just so well done. Everything about it is just almost perfection, but it's still flawed. Don't expect the greatest thing ever, but it's still
Yeah.
very good.
Nice.
So, Cinematic Sterling, what is your first underrated film?
So I am actually my first pick is actually going to be a remake.
Hmm.
Now, with a lot of remakes, there are plenty that are better than the original, such as the case with The Thing and The Fly. And then there are some that absolutely suck. Well, one remake I think is rarely ever talked about, or at least that I don't really hear about, is the 2012 remake of Maniac with Elijah Wood.
Hmm.
So,
Mm,
I like the original 1980s one with Joe Spinell and William Lustig, but this one I felt did the whole concept of of following this killer and getting into his psyche much better.
yeah,
Because Maniac is one of those movies where you don't really follow the survivor, you follow the killer. He's your main character. What the remake does is very clever. It is shot from Elijah Wood's point of view. Now, coming from someone that usually hates POV stuff and hates found footage movies, I thought this actually worked because you feel like you're stuck in his mind. You see a lot of his hallucinations, like this, like with his mother and his past victims, taunting him, or or the visuals of when he's having a migraine. It's so it's so striking and fascinating. It has a lot of excellent practical effects that are much better than the original, because the original's effects were done by Tom Savini. And yes, Tom Savini's effects were good, but they were a tad bit dated. Because there's a scene where Frank is scalping one of his victims, and you could tell he's just scraping a knife that was like painted in had red paint on it on someone's head. It didn't look real. Whereas
yeah, I can see that.
whereas with the remake, it looks like you see the knife cutting into someone's flesh. And there are scenes that are done much better in this movie than in the original. There's a scene where because you've has anyone here ever seen the original?
I've seen both.
So there is a scene where
I haven't seen either. My bad.
there's a scene where he has a woman tied up, and you see how terrifying Elijah Wood can be. You see, like when he's scraping, where he's having a knife on this woman's back, and he's just tracing the flesh. You see the marks.
Oh yeah.
And like obviously the whole killer has this obsession and issues with his mother. Yes, that's very Norman Bates, but it is done very, very well here. It's expertly written. The acting, especially from Elijah Wood, is phenomenal. The music is great. I'm a sucker for like that 80s dark wave electronic sound in horror movies, like what John Carpenter does. And the music here is very reminiscent of one of my favorite movies, A Clockwork Orange. Mm-hmm. And this movie was written by Alexander Aja, and we know his credentials.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So if you want a surprisingly good remake to check out, I highly, highly recommend you check out Maniac.
I definitely agree. Maniac is definitely, I would say, top 5 horror remakes easily. I will say, as much as I love the original, both are excellent. I think they work as companion pieces to each other, similar to the House on Haunted Hill movies from 1959 and 1999. I have a review on that if you want to check it out. And Maniac, what it does, as much as I like the third act of Maniac, that specifically focuses on him and his demons, Frank and his demons. And I liked that. It was very well done, but it's like I feel like the arc with him and what was her name? Caroline, was that her name? I don't remember her name.
The love interest?
Yeah. Anna. Okay. I think the actress in the original, her name was Caroline. But yes, Anna in the original, she just kind of runs away and is kind of forgotten about. But in the remake, they actually did focus on her. She was intrinsic to the regression of his psyche. And I also mentioned, because I do have a review of Maniac as well, what I liked was the setting for both. Like the 80s Maniac is very grimy, disgusting, and filthy New York. And so much character just by what, like, I forget who was, I know who was, I was watching a Red Letter Media video. I think Jay Bowman mentioned it. I forget what video though. And he was pretty much like, yeah, the grime and grit of New York, just fucking film, just like a sidewalk for 10 minutes and you'll get so much character in those 10 minutes just for how disgusting New York was back in the 20th century.
Yes.
So, and then I also but then Maniac flips that. You have a very empty and vacant LA, and I think that works so well.
Especially during the chase scene in the subway. Like, there's no one there. And the music, the bum, bum, bum. It's just the volume is amping up. And you see how terrified she is. And this is an example. This is one of the examples of how to properly do a remake. Use the same concept, but make your own version.
Yeah, exactly.
And something this movie the remake did better is, John, why did Frank have the mannequins in his house?
Because he's weird. He's a serial killer.
The reason, and this one says he has the mannequins because his mother had a mannequin restoration shop that was passed on to him.
That makes sense. Yeah, I think that was they definitely improved a lot of aspects. I wouldn't say it's better, but it's just so different because it tells its own story. That's what it's so good about it. It tells its own story, and it just so brilliant. You know, oh God, you picked a good one, Devin. You fucking picked a good one.
And this was the movie that introduced me to one of my favorite YouTubers, Andy the Maniacal Cinephile.
Ah, yes, of course. Even with all his gross poop jokes, he is still one of a kind.
Yes, he is. But that's all I have to say.
All right, so I feel like KitchenAid has not been part of this conversation as much because he hasn't seen anything. I'm sorry. You're muted.
Oh, I feel like a cretin. I feel so bad. I'm like, oh, great. I feel like an idiot. I haven't seen it.
Okay, now we get to your movie. We get to your first underrated.
Okay, all right.
Movie.
I was going to go with my other movie. I was going to switch what I was going to do my other movie first. I'm like, well, we've referenced two 80s movies here now, but let's stick with the theme. But I'm like, no, I think I really want to leave with this one first because I just finally watched it last night. I've wanted to watch it for a long time, and I just absolutely fell in love with it immediately. It's a film called Session 9. I don't know if you guys have seen it. Brad Anderson.
Session 9 is great.
Yes.
Heard of it?
Yeah.
Very, very vaguely, like rumblings, but I have not seen it.
Yeah. It's directed by Brad Anderson, the guy who did The Machinist.
Okay, now I gotta watch it.
Yeah,
that's how I've heard of it. Okay,
yes.
I watched The Machinist, excellent movie, and I'm like, what else did this guy do? And I think I saw Session 9, and then I never followed up on it.
Oh, okay. It's a fucking amazing, dude. It's amazing. I mean, you could tell right away that it's very cheaply made. It's apparent right away. But I mean, the way it's about this asbestos removal crew who takes this job removing asbestos at this old abandoned psychiatric hospital that the town wants to renovate and made like some type of town hall type thing place. So, and the guy who owns the little crew, it's just a small crew, and he's under a lot of pressure because he has a kid and he wants to, so he agrees to this is a massive, massive hospital. It's Danvers Hospital. I don't know if you've ever seen the shots of it. It's a huge, really huge fucking really huge hospital. I mean, the shots of it are amazing. And like David Caruso is in it. It's got a really great cast. David Caruso was in it. And Josh Lucas is in it. Got a really good cast. And he agrees, but either way, Peter Mullen is in it. He plays this guy, Gordon. He agrees to take this job. David Caruso, his right-hand man, says that this is a 3-week job. And he says, no, I'll do it in 1 week. So they have all this pressure to do this massive, massive job in 1 week. And the way this in this really creepy, I mean, there are a few settings better we've seen plenty of films before set in a psychiatric hospital, but I mean, the way they use the setting, the music, the story, the dialogue to ratchet up the tension steadily in this movie is just absolutely amazing. And I just fell in love with it. And speaking of, I know it's my favorite genre of horror, really psychological horror. That's always my favorite. I mean, so, and along the way, one of the guys on the crew, he discovers these tapes and of this sessions with this one mental patient who had multiple personality disorder. And it becomes apparent that, something happens. The doctor's trying to get at her personalities. It starts with 3 personalities, the princess, Billy, and there's one called, what's the third one? Damn it. Do you remember? I can't remember.
Simon.
Yes, Simon. And he's trying to get to Simon, right? And it becomes apparent like the princess just represents innocence, just pure innocence, very childlike little girl. It's a girl, it's a female, but I mean, the first personality is a girl. The second personality, Billy, also a kid, but represents protection. Billy tries to protect Amy, who is the girl, who is the patient, from Simon, from her demons, from Simon. Simon represents kind of like the darkness within all of us, it seems to be. And it becomes apparent that something really, really dark has happened. And it just kind of unfolds. And that kind of mirrors the story that's going on. What happens with the tapes is kind of mirrors what's going on with the actual story with this crew and the way they're kind of tested and fall apart, the increasing paranoia between them, it just kind of pushes them to the breaking point. And the climax, especially that last line, is one of the best last lines I've ever heard in any film.
Don't spoil it.
Yeah,
Because I
I will
haven't
not.
seen it yet.
I will not. I will
Okay.
not.
Yeah.
I highly recommend it. I just fell in love with it.
Oh yeah. Like. Oh, sorry. No, you go first.
So, Mark, my uncle and my aunt, they're big horror fanatics like
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah.
And sometimes my uncle will pass down movies
Yeah.
from his collection to mine. And
Yeah.
when he gave me Session 9, he told me it was the scariest movie he's ever seen.
It's really terrifying. It really is. I mean,
It's creepy as hell.
yes. I mean, the
It's
way
like
they
Magic
use mood,
Hospital, of course.
it's a perfect example of using mood and atmosphere so that when you do have a jump scare, it's actually effective.
It's effective.
Exactly.
I
Jesus.
keep saying this. Sorry to cut you off, but I
No,
want to
go
get
ahead.
it out.
Yeah.
This is what I love.
hmm
He's one of the few directors to do this. Scott Derrickson knows how to use jump scares.
Yes.
Sinister
Exactly.
was exemplary in this. But
Mhm.
of course, all the fucking normies are like, "Oh, it has jump scares, so that means it's
Yeah.
like, no.
No.
Jump scares can be good
Yeah.
when
Mhm.
used effectively." Scott
Yeah.
Derrickson knows how to do this in Sinister and in the Black Phone. He
Mhm.
knows how to use that shit effectively.
Yeah.
Andy
Mhm.
Muschietti does not. I loved it, but
Yeah.
fuck, those jump scares were stupid.
Yeah.
But that's beside the point.
And I know, kind of going off a tangent, but Smile used jump scares nonstop, and they weren't effective. They weren't scary. They were just annoying.
Exactly. When you overuse them, it just
when you overuse them, and it's stuff like that's not scary.
Yeah.
Like hello, and it's like
Exactly.
who would say it? And then they got to have the loud noise. It's like why? Like a great jump scare that's actually effective. It's like Michael Myers when he kills Annie in the first Halloween. That's a good and effective jump scare because you have that build up.
Yes,
it's such a great scene. Like she goes to enter the car. She doesn't have the keys, so she goes back, and then she doesn't even use the keys, and she gets into the car, and then the wheels start turning. She sees the fog on the windshield. She turns like, wait a minute, and then bam, fucking just strangles her. That is expected because you have the buildup of something is gonna happen, and the jump scare leads into a horrific action.
Exactly.
Have that horrific action that is happening. It's not just someone saying hello, like, oh, that was it. Okay. You got to have something that leads into a horrific action. So you are you're taken out of your comfort zone, which is what an effective jump scare does. And then you're horrified by the thing that's unfolding on screen.
Exactly.
That is that. I need to watch Session 9.
Yes.
I liked Brad Anderson just from The Machinist.
All
of his other movies could be garbage. I'm like, okay.
If I had never, I wish I had heard about it back then. I'm upset that it took so long to hear about it because I remember watching The Machinist before The Dark Knight came out. Well, not before Batman Begins came out, because I remember watching that and just, this was around the time that, he had been casted, so it hadn't come out yet. So I was like, Jesus Christ, I'm becoming, he underwent that physical transformation. But I mean, I fell in love with The Machinist was fantastic. Really good.
That was easily Christian Bale's second best performance, only behind American Psycho.
Yeah. Agreed. But yeah, I highly recommend it. I mean, it's just a damn good movie. I mean, I mean, even like I said in my review of it, even though you can kind of see the end coming, even when you can, it's still no less unsettling and disturbing.
Oh yeah, and that's also effective. Like when you have that knowledge, but like you can't do anything about the knowledge. Like kind of like if you're like, I don't know, like I know nobody here can identify with that, but like if you're like getting strangled to death, like the end is coming, but it's still not less horrifying.
Exactly.
Like knowing you're gonna die. Like that's hell, we all know we're gonna die, but like it still doesn't make it any less horrifying.
Exactly.
Like that's perfect.
Exactly. Yeah. Terrible. Terrifying. But yeah, I highly recommend it. I just fell in love with it. So really damn good movie. Automatically one of my favorites.
Agreed.
All right. So going from stuff we love to stuff we hate. Well, not necessarily hate, just because overrated doesn't necessarily mean hate.
Yeah.
Just means not as good as everyone says it is.
Yeah.
And with that, the first one I had, because I've already talked about The Shining. I've already talked about The Exorcist. People know my thoughts on these. So the first one I wanted to go with is a new entry similar to with your Session 9.
Yeah.
And that is Halloween H2O 20 years later. I'm sorry to everyone watching. I know people love this movie. And I was like, okay, because my horror-a-thon this month, in terms of stuff I want to watch, I wanted to watch the rest of the Halloween movies, ignoring the Rob Zombie remakes, because I don't give a fuck about those. And then Nightmare on Elm Street, because those are the two other big horror franchises where I've not seen everything, and I want to see everything. And I'm like, let me start with the good movies first, so I can ease my way into the garbage. So I'm like, okay, let me watch Halloween H2O first. And after watching, I was just like,
wow, this is garbage. You actually like this?
I just don't get it. What? Actually, you know what? That's wrong. I do get it. There are only two reasons why people would actually like this movie. Is one, it kills Michael Myers. And two, it's better than Halloween 5 and Halloween 6. That is it. Those are the only reasons why people actually like this movie. Because it's literally Dawson's Creek meets Halloween. That's not interesting to me. It's like...
It's fair. That's fair.
Don't like... Okay, ignoring The Faculty, I don't like Kevin Williamson. I just cannot get behind his stuff. I'm not a huge fan of the Scream movies. I'm not a huge fan of like any of his other like fucking like 90210 fucking Dawson. I don't like any of that. I just like, and with that, I just couldn't get behind a Halloween H2O. I like, someone actually made a very good point of this. Hold on, let me try to find it, because one of these guys I follow on Letterboxd, he said, and it perfectly encapsulates this movie for me: a failure as a Halloween installment, but a triumph as a Jamie Lee Curtis showcase. That is perfect, because Jamie Lee Curtis is amazing in fucking everything. She could be in the worst shit and she would be fucking fantastic. She is awesome. Everybody loves Jamie Lee. So with that, one of the few things I liked about this movie was I think Carrie Tate's / Laurie Strode's PTSD was done very well in this movie. It was nuanced and subtle. Unlike Halloween 2018. As much as I love Halloween 2018, I think the PTSD was done much better in this movie. However, it just, to me, Halloween H2O is just Halloween but bland. Like there's nothing. It seems so vacant, so empty. Like I will say, outside of the opening scene, which I still think is pretty decent, I just couldn't get into I was like nothing. Like at the end of the first act, I was playing Tetris on my phone. Like I was just like not enraptured in this story. Like I just didn't care. And on top of that, Robert Zapia's original scripts, I felt were much better. Like they seemed more interesting and more, there was something to them. And I'll get that in my part 2 of History of Canceled Halloween Movies. Couple weeks from now. But with that, it's just a bland movie. Like Michael Myers is not fucking scary. Like he is so, like, I understand it's Carrie Tate's story. I get it. It's her story. But when the thing you're having her traumatized against not be scary, what's the point? Why, she has PTSD from this event, and you're making that person that caused all this pain in her life not scary, then it almost dematerializes her arc in this movie. And that's saddening, because it's the best part of the movie. She is the best part of this movie. So I think, like, mainly because it kills Michael Myers definitively. Outside of Halloween 2, this is the most definitive way of killing Michael Myers. Yeah, fucking decapitate the motherfucker. Awesome. Okay. And then it's better than 5 and 6. Halloween 4, you had something good going with Halloween 4. And then Mustafa Akkad had to fuck things up by not having it follow Jamie and her actually having guilt, being a killer, possibly being a killer, because making your characters interesting. Why would you fucking have that? Why would you? I will stand by this. I will fucking stand by this. I will die on this hill. Halloween 4's ending is the greatest missed opportunity in horror film history and one of the greatest missed opportunities in cinematic history. Period. Easily.
Thank you.
Mustafa Akkad. Fucking, I hope you're rotting wherever the fuck you are, you fucking bastard. Anyway.
Damn, dude.
Okay, got a little too dark there. I apologize. Mustafa Akkad was not that bad of a guy, because especially after the purchase of the Halloween franchise by rapist and douche nozzle, he didn't seem that bad. But you know what? He's still not great. But anyway, this is let's die this down a bit. Halloween H2O, massively overrated. What else? What do you guys have to say?
So I agree that it's definitely overrated. I don't hate the movie. I reviewed H2O on my channel. I think it's okay. I don't mind Laurie's arc. There's things in the movie I like, such as the argument scene with her and her son John.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was executed brilliantly. However, H2O has a lot of fake outs and jump scares.
Oh god, the jump scares.
And has, in my opinion, the worst actor to ever play Michael Myers. Chris Durand was not Michael Myers. That is a guy dressed up like Michael Myers. Not once is he intimidating. He's a pussy. He gets his ass handed to him so easily.
He gets kicked in the nuggets and he goes cross-eyed. Like,
yeah,
really?
He gets kicked in the balls. He gets hit with a fire extinguisher.
Half the time, like when that climax started, I half expected the fucking Benny Hill music to start playing.
Yeah. I mean, I had that moment in Halloween Kills, but that's another. But I'm saving that for my rant and ramble. But it could have been better if that was the end of the franchise. If the series stopped there,
mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have minded, because it went out on a okay note. I'm like, Michael's decapitated. Laurie killed her monster, but then Mustafa Akkad and the Weinsteins got together and were like,
wait a minute, what if we can ruin this?
We got to have money.
Hold on, I got the clip.
We've got to have money.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a better closure than the one I just watched. Oh, God, fuck, Halloween ends.
Well, are you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. Well, I mean, we talked about this. I like the movie. And I agree with your point. I mean, you guys make some good points. Yes, he was a weak Michael. I agree. Michael was weak. You're right. It is that is a good point. It is, Halloween meets Dawson's Creek. But I will say one thing, and you mentioned it, Josh Hartnett. I thought Josh Hartnett was really good in this movie, and I loved his chemistry with Jamie Lee Curtis.
Underrated actor.
He really was. He really is really very underrated actor. I mean, he was really big around that time. He was getting a lot of good roles.
I mean, H2O was kind of his first jump into stardom. That's why when they were trying to do the sequel to Halloween Resurrection, they wanted to have John Tate come back, but he was just too big, and that's kind of why it got canceled. Ironically, the script is actually not half bad. It's actually quite good, but that's a discussion for another day.
Yeah. But and I mean, you guys know the story. I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis was pissed because she was promised that they were going to actually kill him this time, and this was going to be it. But of course, Mustafa Akkad doesn't give a damn about the art; he just cares about the money. So, I mean,
we've got to have money.
I will never get tired of that clip.
Thanks, Tom and Jerry the movie.
Exactly right. Who would think Tom and Jerry the movie would give us one of our favorite clips?
I mean, I
Something
mean,
good
fucking
came out of it.
Despicable Me gave us another really good clip.
Wow, this is garbage. You actually like this?
Who knows? You know.
Yeah, there you go. You never know where you're gonna find a gem. But I mean, for me, like I said, I mean, to me, Laurie Strode or Carrie Tate in this movie, the way they dealt with her PTSD was, I much prefer it to the way they dealt with it in 2018. Because let's be honest, in 2018, and I like 2018, but in 2018 they just turned her into Sarah Connor. I mean,
yeah,
That's fair.
2018 is definitely a flawed movie. I mean, I like Halloween Kills. I have not seen Halloween Ends just yet.
Yeah.
So who knows? That's that, and I don't think Halloween Kills is underrated. I just enjoy the ride. It's a dumb movie. Yeah. It's not genuinely good in the slightest. I'm like, okay, I'm going to see this movie. It's not going to be fucking Empire Strikes Back or Two Towers. I'm going to have fun with it.
Yeah.
And I had fun with it. And so let's see how Ends fucks that up even more, or maybe I'll be like Zach and I'll actually like the movie. So who knows?
Yeah.
I think I'll like it because people I admire who I also trust also really liked it. So who knows? Let's see. Now this comment, I don't know about that. Malik Akkad said that they are going to continue making these movies until the last Akkad is fucking dead.
Exactly.
That's pretty much as long as an Akkad lives, Michael will not die. Because remember,
even when people stop going to see him,
you can't kill the boogeyman. It could
even
be.
When, they'll send it straight to video. They'll send it straight to video when people stop going to the theaters. They'll send it straight.
They tried like 3 different times. Again, going back to my canceled movies video, but they tried like on like 3, I think 2 or 3 separate occasions. They tried to bring it to home to straight to video, and they're like, they just couldn't get it off the ground. Yeah, probably for the better.
Children of the Corn.
Or Hellraiser, because remember,
Hellraiser.
Yeah, exactly.
Fucking, I just Dimension is just so fucking retarded. They like fucking they buy these franchises, Children of the Corn and Hellraiser, then they make a shitty fucking movie, Hellraiser 4 and Final Sacrifice, Children of the Corn 2, and then they're like, oh, it failed. Guess we gotta fucking send it to direct to video, and then it's a dumb franchise that nobody actually remembers for being good. It's like Dimension. Maybe it's a you problem. I'm just saying.
Exactly.
Anyway, okay. Let's not keep this any longer. Devin, what is your first overrated movie?
So, my first overrated movie, I'm starting off with one that I don't hate, but I just don't love. And I know I'm probably going to get shit for this from you, John. I cannot get into Suspiria.
Oh, my aching, breaking heart. Why don't you love this masterpiece, Devin?
I definitely love the Technicolor look. It's a beautiful looking movie, and the score by Goblin, amazing. I have the theme song on my phone. But my issues with this movie, I don't find the story, like a lot of movies I find over, I just can't get into. I don't find the story interesting. Like, I don't really care about the main character or this whole thing with the witches. The pacing, I think drags in spots. And my biggest issue with this movie, the editing is so choppy, especially during the beginning. Like, we open up with this random narration, and like, okay, is there going to be a narrator in this movie? And it never comes back. Because it starts off with, this girl is going to Germany and to attend this dance school, to attend this dance academy. And that's the only spot it comes up. Like, what is the point of that? Why is this here? It did not need to be there. And then you have her walking out of the airport, and you just hear the theme song just cutting in and out, like looking at the door. It's like, cut to her walking, door, theme music. Her walking, door, theme music. Like, wait, I'm confused. What's going on here? And then she gets to the dancing academy, and we're already treated, and we already see the murders happening. Like, wait, there was no build up to this. This just came out of nowhere. Like, you gotta build upon this better. And I know Dario Argento can. I've seen plenty of his movies. But like this, there are plenty of Italian horror movies I love, but this one, I can't. No matter how hard I try, I want to love this movie. I want to love it. And John, I know, probably wants to teleport to my house and kick my ass. But it's not for me.
Well, I think like a lot of the problems you have are the point. Like the choppy editing, that's the point. Like the weird like tone and all that is the point, because the whole point of it is like it's supposed to be like a dream, and dreams don't exactly make sense, and they're choppy. You teleport from here to there, you don't know what's going on. It's just everything is just freaking, like the whole point of the movie is supposed to be one big dream for either the character or the audience or both. So that's like kind of like the whole reason why it works. Is because it's much like many of his other films. It's like a dream. It just doesn't make sense, and that's kind of what's horrifying about it, because you don't know what's going to happen next. It's unpredictability, and that kind of thing. That's why it works for many other people and myself. It's just this strange, ethereal and surreal film that just doesn't make sense, but it's just horrifying with its just weirdness and creepiness. Like that, for me personally, at least. Mark, what do you think? You're muted.
Honestly, I've never seen either the original or the remake, and I've always wanted to see the original. I've just never gotten around to it. I see now that it's on Tubi, so I'll have to check it out.
Yes, Tubi.
Yes.
I do want to see the remake, because I have heard it's good. It's very different. I've heard it's very different, but very good. Definitely slower, more concrete, more grounded, more realistic. I've heard that, and I'm very curious with what that is.
We watched Maniacal Cinephile on that.
Yeah, yes. I'm glad I didn't make that one because I didn't want it to be spoiled for me.
Yeah, of course.
I didn't want it to be spoiled.
Yeah. But I mean, I still want to check it out, because I mean, I've wanted to for years, like ever since. Oh God, it might have been even in the 90s when I first heard of it. It's like it just seemed interesting, different, very different. So I mean, I wanted to check it out for some time, but I mean, for a long time, I just never got around to it. It's just one of those films you just never got around to seeing. But I mean, I think I'm finally, now that I'm on this horror binge,
Yeah, I mean, you watch a bunch of classics and already, like you watched The Changeling the other day. I was like, oh my God, my proud baby. He's finally watching The Changeling.
Oh God, I love it. Yes.
That almost made this, but I feel like The Changeling is known enough and stated like on many like hardcore horror fans, like this is an amazing movie. So I feel like it's not underrated. It's not like talked about as much, but I don't feel it's underrated, because I feel like people are like, yeah, this is an amazing movie. Yeah. So, but let's not talk about amazing movies. Mark, what's your first overrated film?
Okay, I think I'm going to go with a movie from around that same time, Phantasm. That I went with, and and the thing is, I saw the second one. I saw Phantasm 2 when I was a teenager, and I was in like junior high. with a friend of mine, and I remember loving it. I remember liking it. I mean, the tall man was
the
just,
second one's better, definitely better.
yeah, oh yeah, and the tall man Angus Scrimm was just fantastic. The little metal balls and everything, it was just so weird, and out there that it was just kind of different from anything you see. Finally watched the original, just didn't like it. I mean, the story, the character, didn't really care about any of the characters. Not very well written at all, the story. Some of the choices, I'm like, why is it opening up with them having sex in a cemetery? What am I missing here?
Doesn't that explain your youth?
Yeah,
Oh, who
exactly.
doesn't fucking cemeteries?
Who fucks in a cemetery? Jesus Christ!
I did that all the time when I was 16.
Of course. I mean, Jesus, it felt like cheap 70s B movie porn. I mean, dear God, man.
I mean, that is the best.
And softcore porn, not even the good stuff. But I mean, geez. Yeah, but I mean, it just none of it scared me. Not those little psychotic Jawas running around. I mean, it just seemed ridiculous.
Technically, Jawas are already little fucking psychotic.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
but they're just even worse.
Well, they're just capitalist, essentially. I mean, they just want to make some money. So, but I mean, Angus Scrimm was good. I mean, he was great, for at least the little he was given to do. I mean, I did love the ending. I did like the ending. I have to say, I did like the ending. The ending was clever with the whole, was it a dream or is it not? It was it a dream or wasn't it thing.
Yeah.
I thought that would actually explain a lot of it. The way it feels kind of disjointed and everything.
Yeah, again, similar with Suspiria, that was kind of the point.
Yeah.
In fact, the original cut of Phantasm, it was like 3 hours long.
Oh wow!
But I think Don Coscarelli had to cut it down for horror's sake and theaters. I think I don't remember why, but he had to cut it down, or he wanted to cut it down to 90 minutes. Yeah. Unfortunately, the rest of that footage is lost now. Some of it was used for Phantasm 4.
Yeah.
So the full movie is somewhere, probably lost forever.
Yeah.
But the reason of the disjointedness is, it's because of it was supposed to feel like a dream, but there was also, also half the movie was technically missing. So it makes sense. It makes sense why it wasn't like that. So
also, I wasn't the effects weren't even very good. Not even for the time.
Just put a finger on a back and put some Frenches on it.
Some kind of look, a rubber bat with hair on it. I mean, it's like, oh God.
Very cheap. Very cheap. But I kind of weirdly, I don't love Phantasm.
Yeah.
It's okay. I get why some people would like it. I do think Phantasm 2 is better, but I think Michael Baldwin is the better protagonist. I don't like the guy they got for Phantasm 2. It just I couldn't get over the recasting. It's not like Don Cheadle for Terrence Howard in the Iron Man movies or anything like that. Fair. I'm like, you're not this guy, and the personality's different. I get it's supposed to be 7 years and he was in an institution. I get that, but it just didn't feel right. He looked nothing like him. His body type was different. I just couldn't buy it. But outside of that, Phantasm 2 is the better movie.
Yeah.
I have heard Phantasm 3 is good, Phantasm 4 is good, and then or they're both mixed, and then Phantasm 5 is a bunch of bullshit, but I don't blame them too hard for that. It was supposed to be a web series, and then it got edited into a movie, and then they had no budget, it kept getting delayed, just a whole bunch,
and
that was shut.
And of course, Angus Scrimm, he was the dude was old, and I think he died
shortly after.
Yeah,
I would like to see a Phantasm movie, another one, just for them to kind of fix Phantasm 5. Yes, there is no Angus Scrimm, but they kind of teased in Phantasm 5 that it's like kind of like the never ending. Like he could maybe like they could like, oh, I changed my face because
Yeah,
there's a
yeah,
reason.
of course, yeah.
Get like Javier Batet to like play him,
Mm-hmm.
or who's like someone like also like really tall and really creepy. Just get like someone like just I don't know, just somebody, because like I feel like for hardcore Phantasm fans, I feel like that's not fair.
True.
Like,
And I feel, you know, because like every time he was on screen, it was great. I mean, every time it's not, it just falls apart. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, and honestly, but I mean, even in the ending, you know, when they have him, you know, they set the little trap. He runs across the mine trap. Of course, Angus Grim runs across it. The tall man runs across it, just falls in. It feels like something out of fucking Scooby Doo or something, you know.
Like, like Phantasm, it is a little silly.
Yeah,
but I do enjoy myself with it because Angus Scrim is so fucking good.
He really is.
As the tall man,
and I love that. Yeah,
and I liked the three characters like Mike, Jody, Reggie.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed those characters.
Yeah,
you know, I cared about them. I didn't want them to die.
Yeah,
but Angus Scrim makes that movie, especially with that final shot.
He really does. Yeah.
Oh
God, I did love that when he showed up at the house and he's like, "Boy, you play a good game, boy, but the game is finished." I'm like, okay, that's a great line. That's a great ass line.
Is it? It must be a dream. No, it's not.
That was from Phantasm 2, though.
Yeah, it was. Still a great line. He just comes up. No.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Angus Grim was great, but I think
imagine if like a Lord of the Rings movie was made in the 80s, and imagine him as like Saruman. That would be fucking. That would be awesome.
That would be perfect.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. Because that's exactly what someone would. That's exactly how I imagine someone.
We did get a Lord of the Rings. Something Lord of the Rings related.
We don't talk about the Ralph Bakshi version.
No, I'm talking about the Rankin Bass version.
Well, that was Return of the King specifically, because what happened is Ralph Bakshi wanted it to be a two-parter, like half of Two Towers and Fellowship in one movie, and then the other half of Two Towers and Return of the King in the other.
And his movie sucked.
Lord of the Rings fucking sucked and failed. So like, oh, guess we're not making the next one. And they just didn't. So Rankin Bass is like, let's make a musical version of it. Yeah, that'll work.
Ralph Bakshi,
there's a whip
out there.
There's a way. There's a whip. There's a way.
Ralph Bakshi, I will never forgive you for doing my boy Samwise Gamgee dirty.
You know what? Wizards is great, so I'll forgive him.
Really big shit.
Oh God, Wizards is fucking great. It's awesome. Ridiculous, but it's awesome. But anyway, before this goes too out of whack, next is my next underrated film. And for me, there was so many I wanted to do, so many. But so ultimately,
yeah,
I had to pick one, and the one I picked is Martin. Now, Martin is arguably the best vampire movie I've ever seen. It is so well done. If it wasn't for Day of the Dead, I would say it would be George Romero's best movie. It was George Romero's favorite movie, like out of his entire filmography. To the day he died, he said Martin was my favorite film. And they recently found a director's cut. It was bought by a private collector, so who knows if we'll ever get to see that. But I think it was like 2.5, 3 hours.
3.5 hours.
3.5 hours. Okay.
Shit.
So I'm really curious about that. I hope we see it sometime soon. But even then, the movie we got is still excellent. The guy who plays Martin, I forget his name. He is so good. Like he has like this sort of like he's just like he has like this sort of innocence about him, but you could tell there's something more to him. Like he's smarter and more, I don't want to say experienced, but like smarter than he lets on. Like he kind of uses his naive boy look to his advantage, like to, like, oh, I'm not going to be a threat, and uses that to his advantage, and he does that very well. I think the supporting cast is pretty good. Coda, I think his name was, the uncle, his great uncle or something. He was really good. I liked him. Just the ending is great with him. Just like so sudden and just so fucked up. But his cousin was good. No, Coda was his cousin. And then his I don't know what you would call her. I think another type of cousin, but she was good. I forget her name, but she was also really good. And I liked the black and white sequences. Like, are these flashbacks? Are they just what he's experiencing? I like how they went back and forth with that. It's almost like a weird, no pun intended, slice of life movie, and like how it handles vampirism. Like, it's just like it totally flips everything on its head. Like, it's like garlic doesn't work, crosses don't work, all this this old age bullshit doesn't. This is a new age vampire movie, and it does it so fucking well. And I think, oh god, I'm gonna hold on. I'm gonna look up the guy's name because he is so good. I want to give credit where credit is due. But like, this is definitely like I don't know, something about, like, I've seen plenty of vampire movies, and a lot of them very, very good, very, very good. But Martin was just something like so out of left field and just so different and so unique that I couldn't help but John Amplas, that was his name, John Amplas. He was so fucking good. So good. And he just, like, again, it kind of has similarly to that choppy sort of editing a little bit. Again, it's similar to Phantasm, where there is a longer movie out there, but it still feels like a complete vision almost. Like, it still feels like this is what was intended. And it just it almost feels like like similar to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It feels like almost like a documentary. Like, it's just like things happening in this guy's life. And I really liked that approach. It's very slow, but it's not horribly paced. It takes its time, but it doesn't. What's the word I'm looking for? It just doesn't, like, it doesn't. It's not a slog. It's not a slog. It takes its time. It just wonderfully acted, beautifully crafted. It is one of George Romero's best movies. It is criminally underrated. Nobody mentions Martin. Now, hopefully, with the director's cut just getting mentioned, we might never even fucking see it. Just the fact that it's mentioned, it was in the news for a little bit. Hopefully that gets more people to watch Martin, because Martin is so good. It's one of the best vampire movies ever made. Yet it turns all the vampiric traditions, tales, urban myths on their head, and it's just like the personification of like a new age vampire movie, and I absolutely fucking love that. Like, easily, just so great. Anybody else have anything to say?
I've only seen Martin once because you recommended it to me, and this was a while ago, and I remember being very, very impressed. It's a new type of vampire movie, just the way it's told, and I liked it, and I liked the direction it went in.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me a little bit of, in terms of new age vampire movies, reminds me of Near Dark a little bit. Not even close similar. It's just like that idea of like just doing something so different with the vampire myth, and it just running with it, and it's just so good. And it's just like Martin, Amplas owns the role, and then Near Dark sort of, it's just like, how depressing would it be to be a vampire? So I kind of liked that, but Martin is just so well done. Mark, have you seen it? Muted.
Mark,
I have not actually. I was just looking for it, and where could I find it?
I found it on YouTube for free.
Wow. Huh.
Yeah, you could probably. It's just one of the things that YouTube just kind of ignores sometimes.
Yeah. I when I looked at it, it said it was distributed by Netflix of all things. I don't see it on there, but it sounds interesting, and I definitely have to check it out. Check it out. So definitely not one of his more well-known films.
No. Well, I mean, anything outside of the Dead trilogy is pretty much
true,
not
true.
known.
For the Crazies, but yeah.
And Creepshow.
Yeah, Creepshow.
But like Night Riders,
yeah,
fucking remembers that. And then his second zombie trilogy fucking blows. Nobody likes that. But anyway, enough about Martin. Great movie.
Yeah.
So I would recommend. Like, even though that he has made some stinkers, George Romero was just so ahead of his time. He was so excellent. But Devin, my favorite bald guy, what do you got for your second underrated?
So, originally, as much as I hated his Monsters movie, I was originally going to give Rob Zombie credit because Lords of Salem was surprisingly not bad. But that's a movie I just enjoyed, but not actually loved. This is one I saw very recently, Psycho 2. Who would have thought a sequel to Psycho, and it's just as good as the first movie. Because you really follow, I love how you just follow Norman Bates the whole movie. And you see, like, he wants to get better. He's trying. But all this shit just keeps reminding him of his past. And it ends on such a tragic note because you think he's getting better and then he just regresses.
Yeah.
And of course, Anthony Perkins just makes that movie.
Yeah.
I'm glad
easily.
There was a sequel to the Psycho book.
Nothing like this movie because the studio hated the book because it made fun of the Hollywood system.
Yeah, exactly. Because the book was about Norman breaking out of the psychiatric hospital and going to the movie set where they're making a movie based off the murders.
Yep. Honestly, that could have been an interesting thing to see.
Yeah.
But it's like Psycho 2 is so good. It's so good.
Yeah, like, I'm glad that is the movie we got. I mean, I haven't bothered with Psycho 3 or 4.
I've heard Psycho 3 is okay, and then Psycho 4 is like kind of intriguing, but like it's a weird retcon because it's supposed to be it was one of the first requels. It even though it's called Psycho 4, it retconned 2 and 3 and is just a sequel to the first one. Because it brings back the original writer who hated the sequels. So.
And also, Lila, Marion's sister,
Vera Miles,
comes back in this movie. And even though, yes, she is a bit of a bitch, like actually trying to willingly drive Norman insane again.
You can kind of understand her, though.
Yeah, you understand her. This guy killed her sister, and he's walking free again.
Yeah.
So
he didn't do it. Mother did it.
Huh.
It's excellent. I definitely want to get it. I definitely want to get it in my collection very soon.
Yeah,
I think I own it. It's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
that
was a surprise.
As great as Psycho is, it's great. Anthony Perkins, I feel, was not given enough room to do his own thing. Like, because he was pretty much just Mother's puppet, And with that, he wasn't given a lot to. It's still a very good performance. Don't get me wrong, but it was like more about the story driven, the character. This is very much character driven. It works wonderfully. Meg Tilly is also really good.
Oh yeah.
And like I feel like the callbacks to the original don't feel forced. Like when he's looking at her in the shower, like it feels like it just like something that is like left over, or like his regression. That's what it feels like, you know?
Yeah.
So I think I think that works. Like the callbacks don't feel like baity or anything like that, and I like that. But yeah, this is definitely Norman's movie. Yeah. This is all about Norman Bates and what he's going through, and just seeing him like a sort of like a good man almost at the beginning, then have him regress is very heartbreaking. It's definitely like just having him go down that road. Oh, well done by Perkins. One of his best performances, but damn, it's definitely it's a very sad movie. But it works with what, you know, we're given. But yeah, Psycho 3 and 4. Stick with Psycho 2. Because it was directed by a guy who understood Hitchcock. He was like a protege of Hitchcock. So he understood how to make that work, but make his own story. So it worked.
Yeah, that's perfect. I mean, it would be like if someone was doing a sequel to The Exorcist and was directing a sequel to The Exorcist and they actually hated the original. Oh, yeah, that already happened. The director of Exorcist 2, who actually directed a great movie with Deliverance, hated the first Exorcist movie.
Jesus Christ.
And it shows.
What if we have weird blinking lights and then a drunk Richard Burton for running around as a priest? Do you think that'll be a good movie?
What if we had James Earl Jones dress up as a locust and then he turns into a tiger?
And then he spits a tomato at someone.
Let's just do a bunch of weird shit. Let's just see what sticks.
Because it's like, it's so funny because when you look at Heretic and Exorcist 3, they both have those like weird dream sequences. Yeah. But the thing is, Exorcist 3 works because it's Blatty's vision and he knew what he was doing and what he wanted to portray. Mm-hmm. So he's like, I know what I'm doing. Exorcist 2, it's just comes off as dumb, slow.
Well, with like the vision, you know, like the weirdest. I was weirded out by the train station sequence at first. I'm like, what the fuck is this? What the hell? But then, you know, you see his friend, the priest. You see the stitcher eyes, like, oh shit. That's when I got the point that okay, I see the point. I see what's gonna. I mean, and yeah.
And then the scene with the scissors. Oh god.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually remember
an effective jump scare.
Yeah. Oh my god, the hallway.
That is the only time I've seen a fake out work, because you think, oh, it's a fake out. No, it's not. You fuck. How dare you think you're safe? And it's like, yes, that is how you do a fake out. As much as I don't like jump scare fake outs, that's how you do a fake.
The hospital hallway was fucking terrifying.
Yes.
The hospital hallway scene, and I had to rewind that a couple times, rewatch it. Holy shit!
Because I actually watched that with a couple of friends of mine, and I wouldn't like. I'm not really scared by a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
but that's a terrifying scene. And
really
they'll watch. I'm like, hey, what'd you think? They're like, it was good, but it wasn't scary. I'm like, what planet are you from? What? Not scary? Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I love the dialogue in that film too. It's so well written. I mean. William Peter Blatty did a fantastic job writing that screenplay. You know,
hold on. Speaking of William Peter Blatty,
I mean, because it's like, you know, I read one view of it. He's very dead right. It feels like the kind of dialogue you'd read in a novel. It feels very novelistic.
I bought this off a friend of mine. I have yet to read it, but it's blank. But I do.
Oh, The Exorcist original book. Yeah,
I have the novel as well.
I've not read the novel, but I have read this book about the true case on which that novel is based. On which the novel is based. The true story of a young kid. Actually, I think it was from New York City or New Jersey, and they flew to like St. Louis or somewhere in Missouri to have The Exorcist done. So it was supposedly possessed, and they performed an exorcism. Yeah, I forget what that's called, but I mean, I'll have to look it up. But I read that, and that was absolutely terrifying. So,
Mark, what's your second underrated movie before we go off too far on a tangent?
You know what? I was going to do. There's a couple I had. I was going to do The Changeling before you had a good point about it being like most people already know about that one. And for this one, what I'm going to do instead, I know you've seen it. They Look Like People.
Yes, that one is great.
Yes, that is a really fantastic film. Again, more psychological thriller than monster film. You know, it's a slow burn, you know, especially at first. But I mean, the scares aren't all that frequent, especially at first, but they're very effective when they do occur. You know?
Yeah.
Because I mean, you really start to even question your own reality. It's like, is this guy actually crazy, or does he have a point? You know?
Yeah.
I mean, is he right? I mean, and even when the answer becomes apparent, it's still freaking terrifying.
Yeah.
You know, it's still terrifying.
The idea of that, like, you can't trust your own head.
Yeah.
That's horrifying. And that's a
really
reality
is.
for a lot of people.
Paranoid schizophrenia is actually terrifying, especially since, I mean, I've never had it, but having dealt with mental illness, you know, and that's absolutely a terrifying thought. Yeah. I mean, you really feel bad for the people. And I love the relationship between the main character, Wyatt, the protagonist, Wyatt, and his friend Christian. Christian just proves to be a really, truly true friend to this guy, you know.
At first, when I was watching it, I was like, this is like weird. Like, their relationship is weird. But then like, when you think about it, it's like, that's like a genuine good friend.
Yes.
Like, it's like it perfectly encapsulates a good person who will stand by you. And that ending is just wonderful.
Yep.
And it looks very cheap. It's like it looks like it was like shot on a DSLR camera.
Yeah.
And but even then, like that didn't bother me. Like sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But this one it didn't. And it was wonderfully executed. It was creepy, but it was just such an intriguing story.
Yeah.
I did look it up right before I watched it. Because I expected more like Jacob's Ladder. That's what I was expecting with this movie.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting like a very well done character driven idea of like examination of sane and insane. But what I got, what I did get, that was extremely well done. I was so
it really was. Yeah. Because you just don't know what this guy's gonna do. You know, I mean, and it's absolutely terrifying. Yeah.
Like in the climax before they get into the basement, I was like, wait a minute, is this happening? Like it does. You question stuff. It's like Jacob's Ladder, great fucking movie. Do not get me wrong. I never really it's just kind of like confusing and lots of weird imagery. I never really questioned my sanity during it and what I was seeing. I was just like, how is this going to unfold? Is this happening as it isn't? But the fact that they look like people questions your own sanity. Yeah, that's scary. And that's what like it showed really well. I believe the director has one more movie after this, which I don't think was well received, but I still think like They Look Like People definitely deserves a lot more praise.
It does. Definitely. Yes, I agree. And you know, one thing I think I came to realize that Christian relies on Wyatt almost as much as Wyatt relies on him. Yeah. You know, because I mean, Christian's dealing with his own issues with depression and lack of self-confidence. You know, I mean, it's like you know, he's listening to the tapes, like when you first introduce it. You know, he's listening to those tapes. You're strong. You're a hero. You're a winner, and all this. You know, and you know, he relies on Christian to reconnect with his, his old friend, so, which I don't think it's very clear whether or not they're childhood friends or not. It seemed like they may have been, but
I think I don't want to say childhood friends, but it feels
maybe
like they met a
college.
little bit later in life.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
maybe as teens, like
yeah,
high school, maybe a
yeah.
little bit before high school, because
Uh-huh.
like just the way the dynamic is shown, the way
Yes,
that's shown, it feels like
exactly.
there's something more, but not to the point where it's like, hey, we were kids when we
Yeah,
met. But
exactly.
even though there were certain scenes like with I think when they would wrap themselves in like blankets and were acting
Oh,
like
yeah.
5-year-olds, I'm like,
Yeah,
what the
yeah.
fuck am I watching? But I'm like, yeah, that's kind of it does capture like the dumb shit you do with your
Yeah.
friends
Yeah,
when no
exactly.
one's watching and that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I really, because you guys were talking about they look like people, right? I had to step away for a bit.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
That's one I plan on checking out very soon.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really good. I really liked it.
What's it on?
I highly recommend it. It's on at Prime. It's on Prime, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's on.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's with subscription or not, but it's very well done. Like questioning with what you see and not see.
Tubi. It's on Tubi. Yeah.
So that mean to bring down the mood.
Yeah.
Massive rest in peace to the greatest actor to ever play Jason Voorhees, Ted White.
Oh, that sucks.
Oh no. My favorite one. Oh my God, he was so good. And
due to the fact this is a horror discussion, mute your mics for a moment of silence for Ted White. Thank you, Ted White.
Thank you, Ted White.
A movie that's 10 times better than the original. Jesus.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But speaking of overrated movies, not Friday the 13th, but a different overrated.
Although that is.
It is.
So
she makes coffee. Oh no.
I really struggled to find my second one because there's not a lot of movies I find to be incredibly overrated. I did consider one, but it's one of those movies that you can't spoil. And even though I don't personally like it, I don't want to spoil it for you guys. I'll mention it after the fact. But the second film I do want to talk about is sort of an underrated, overrated, I like to call it, where for the little niche audience that likes the movie and they don't shut up about it. And when I got that, it overhyped it for me. And when I finally watched it, I was like, this is nothing that special. And to me, that is the film Audition. I do not like Audition. I do not think it was well done. I don't think it was interesting. And I felt like it's just a boring drama with a horror scene at the end. I'm like, the horror scene's kind of cool, I guess. But like, it's not like there's no like, it's literally a drama for the first 2 acts of this movie. And then the third act, oh yeah, it's a horror movie now. Okay. It doesn't come off as like, ooh, a cool tonal shift. It comes off as tonally inconsistent. Like it feels like I'm just watching this movie. You don't really get like those tidbits. I think you get flashbacks or something, but like they just come off as like, oh, you're watching a different movie. It's not like, oh, look at this intriguing bit. Look at this. Who is this woman? Like this intriguing bit, this intriguing bit. It doesn't come off that way. It just comes off like somebody took 2 different movies and smashed them together and hoped that they would fucking connect, and they don't. Like it's just one of those movies that just doesn't work. Like I didn't care about the father character. I didn't really care about the son. I didn't care about what they were going through. He was kind of a prick anyway, because he's like, I'm going to find a wife through this. It just comes off as creepy. And not in like a horror way. It just comes off like this guy is being a douche. So like he does kind of deserve it. But like it just comes off like as two separate movies, and I'm like, what am I watching? It's just like boring. Like, okay, like when is this gonna get interesting? That's like the pretty much like a lot of the movies I think that horror movies that I think are overrated. They're just boring. Like they're bland or boring. That's what Audition is to me. Like it's just a boring ass fucking movie with like a kind of cool ending scene. Like I do like how fucking she fucking gets her neck snapped. Like fuck that bitch. But like, yeah, it just feels like two separate movies are just kind of in one movie, and it's just like, okay, and like all the characters suck, not interesting, kind of boring, and all the little tiny group of people that keep talking about it, I'm just like, why?
So,
but before you stick, and then the scene with the guy eating out of the dog bowl, I was just like,
what the man?
Oh yeah,
like
that
I
was
get
nasty.
the point, but like I hate shock value crap like that.
That was nasty.
But
And
I know you like it, so I'm curious what your thoughts are.
yeah, I enjoyed Audition, but like the whole like main characters being unlikable. That's the thing with Takashi Miike.
Right. He did Ichi the Killer, right?
Yeah, he did Ichi the Killer. He'll write a protagonist, but no hero. Kind of like what Tarantino does. There's a main character, but they're just massive pieces of shit. So there's really nobody to root for.
And normally I don't mind that, but it just like it was just not like it was just not interesting to me, you know? Like he didn't do anything interesting with that. Like Nightcrawler is a good example of like nobody is likable, like everybody's a piece of shit, but like it's interesting, like it's an intriguing like regression of this guy or progression, whatever you want to fucking call it. But it just didn't work for me. Like I just didn't get it. Maybe I need to rewatch it, but like it just comes off as flat to me.
Yeah,
I didn't care for it.
Yeah, that's fair. Like his movies are an acquired taste, but then again, I've only seen Audition and I've only seen Ichi the Killer.
And less said about the latter, the better.
Pretty much. Even though I find that one bizarrely interesting.
Like Halloween 2, Rob Zombie's version.
Pretty much. But like Audition, I've enjoyed it, and the horror scene, like the big reveal, that is something I did not see coming, and that legit like scared me and like creeped me the fuck out.
Maybe because it was ruined for me, like because I knew
Probably.
like, oh, this is a horror movie with a horror scene, like because it's like I think the whole like build up, like you can't know anything about it. Maybe that's probably why it was ruined, because that scene was. I don't know. I don't think I knew of the scene. I knew of. Sorry, miscommunication. I knew of the scene. I just didn't know what happened in the scene. I just knew a horror scene was coming. So I'm like, all right. So I think that might have partially ruined it for me, but who knows? Devin, what is your final film of the night in terms of overrated and film period?
From the late 2010s to this year, I am sick of hammered in agenda propaganda movies.
As we all are. She-Hulk,
because I could say Men. But that wasn't Men. But that wasn't.
You're muted. Men.
But that's not really one that critics loved.
Yeah, nobody really liked that movie. That was more of a
mixed thing. But you guys know which one I'm gonna say. The new Candyman fucking sucked. Like, talk about getting the point of the original wrong just to shove in your own personal bullshit. Like, yes, the original had themes of racism. But here's the thing. They were subtle. There was no one telling you the message. The people who did this movie, and one of the writers of this movie is fucking Jordan Peele, which breaks my heart.
Yeah.
Because I love Get Out, and I enjoyed Us, and I liked Nope. And seeing him write this, because the whole point of this movie is the white man is evil, cops are bad. You gotta always, if you're doing a movie, gotta go from both sides. Yes, there are white people that are shitty.
And there are cops that are shitty.
And there are cops that are shitty. But every single white person in this movie, every single cop is an asshole. And it completely negates the point of what Candyman, what the Tony Todd Candyman was. And the whole thing is, like, each generation having its own Candyman. That's a good idea.
Yeah, because it's a
good
way.
idea.
Because here's the thing, Tony Todd's fucking old. He's in his 60s. He can't do this forever. But here's the thing, just remake it. Don't do the requel thing like everybody else does. Like, I will say, I liked the movie. I thought it was fine, mainly because I'm so desensitized with what you're talking about, like the fucking woke crap. Like, I'm so desensitized because, like, I fucking watched CW shows like it was my goddamn job back in high school. So that's entirely possible that, like, I'm just so desensitized to it that I can't see it smacking me in the face. Because I enjoyed it. Like, it was a good horror movie. Like, it had some horror aspects, but yeah, maybe if I go back to it, I'll be like, yeah, this is crap. But like, I personally, I didn't see it. Maybe I just wasn't looking for it. I'm too desensitized. Who knows? But
the whole lore is incredibly messy and convoluted. The blatant disrespect to Helen Lyle.
Oh God, even I saw
angered me
that
because the original established Helen Lyle is a part of the legend. She is now a Candyman, but no, she can't be a Candyman because she's a woman and she's white because the white man is evil. And this new Candyman they go with is just this generic silent slashing ghost who only appears in like a reflection. And he's all like,
honestly, that could have been a cool idea. Like the reflection thing. But
it's all about execution, and it was executed poorly. The story is very sloppy. They throw in this big, like, you're already doing a Candyman movie. Do we need this human villain who has this motive of creating a new Candyman?
When the Candymen are already being
They're
created.
already there.
Yeah.
And like it's messy. It is pretentious. It's up its own ass. It is like the third act, like the second to third act is where it just falls on its face and smashes all of its teeth. Like I'm watching, I saw it in theaters with my aunt. We were hearing great, like positive things about this movie. Yeah. And then the movie was over and we're like, wait, what? That's it? People liked this?
Yeah.
Like, I don't get it. Like, because the original Candyman is one of my favorite horror movies of the 90s.
Yeah, it's great.
And the trailers were saying, oh yeah, Tony Todd is coming back as the Candyman. He's in the movie for like 10 seconds and he appears at the very end.
Yep.
Talk about a wasted opportunity.
Yeah, because I heard like way back when that it could have been a rumor, it could have been something that was happening that got canceled. But they were what they wanted. I think initially they wanted Lakeith Stanfield to play Candyman, as in like the OG Candyman.
That
But
would have been a good choice.
I think fans complained that that it wasn't Tony Todd, so they brought in. Maybe they did the writing changes. Maybe that's why it was so sloppy. Like they had an original idea and then they changed it. Who knows? But I remember seeing that Lakeith Stanfield was supposed to be Candyman. I'm like, oh, that could be interesting. And then it like turned out to not be true or got canceled. So who knows?
Yeah, there's social, like horror movies do social commentary.
Yeah.
Especially in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s.
Yeah.
This is doing social commentary in a one-sided way, and it's doing it wrong.
Kind of like the shitty new Black Christmas movie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Was baffled at all the creative decisions made with that movie, and this director's gonna be doing Captain Marvel 2.
The Marvels, it's called. I don't blame her. I have heard her first movie is actually quite good. I blame more Jordan Peele and his shitty writing. Maybe he just kind of lost an edge. Maybe it was the other. I think there was another writer on this.
There was.
Maybe it was them. I don't know. Who knows? Because Nope was good.
Nope was very good. It got better on the second viewing.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the hell happened with this movie.
Who knows?
Get Out was good. Us was good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Better or worse than Farewell to Flesh and the other one?
Yeah, just to wrap it up. Completely got the point of the original wrong, just to shove in its own bullshit politics.
But what about the direct-to-video movies? Is it better than those?
I have not seen those.
Okay. And neither have I.
Mark.
But Mark, final film of the night. What do you think is overrated crap?
All right. I really wanted to say Midsummer, or as I always sarcastically say, Midsommar, fun with spelling. Because I honestly find it just be... Huh?
It's called a different language.
I know. I know it's Swedish. I know. I get it. But I just really... It just bored me to tears, honestly. It did. It bored me to tears. But it's been a long time since I've seen it. And I didn't think it was fair to say that when honestly I haven't seen it since 3 years ago when it first came out.
Yeah.
And so I decided we'd go to something I've seen much more recently, the Amityville Horror, which is just, the only reason this movie was ever of any interest to people was the same reason another one I thought about saying, the Blair Shit Project was overrated because they played it as if it was a true story. Oh, this really happened. Bullshit. First of all, George Lutz admitted that he lied, Second of all, Ronnie DeFeo, who said he was possessed by the devil, he's fucking full of shit too. Come on, he's making excuses. But the whole thing is just boring from the get-go. It's boring. None of the characters are interesting. The only thing that's interesting, honestly, is you get to see Margot Kidder's tits, and they're actually quite nice.
And I will say, the look that she had, like when she had like the pigtails.
Oh yeah, she's gorgeous. Yeah, she's gorgeous. Margot Kidder was actually, she looked better in this film than she did in the Superman films. But we know she can act. She's a good actress. And
so is James Brolin.
So was James Brolin, yeah. But I mean, dear God, they were just so damn uninteresting in this film. I just did not think so damn what I wanted. It was
Amityville Horror was one of my choices, but since I already talked about it in my least favorite horror movies list, I didn't want to tread new ground because I'm already treading a lot of ground with my Monster Madnesses this year. I'm kind of repeating myself a little bit, so I didn't want to go there. So that's why I went with Audition. But Amityville Horror is. I will say the second one is good. Amityville 2, The Possession, it's like because the thing is, it's schlock. Like the first one tried to be like highbrow entertainment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The second movie is like, it's schlock. We know we're schlock.
Exactly.
And it's good. Like, it's a good movie. Like,
if you want a much better, I mean,
it's got some weird fucking incest stuff, which is like fucked up, but like interesting in a horror sense. Like, it's fucked up, but it's like it's intriguing with like how like it's supposed to be a prequel, but like the stuff, the names are different and it doesn't match up. So I view it as more like a history repeats itself sort of thing. And like sort of like that, because it just comes off as more interesting. But yeah, Amityville 2, it's pretty good. I recommend that more than the first one.
I struggle to get through that damn thing. I mean, seriously. I mean, it's not only. I mean, the dialogue was poor. I mean, the story was awful. Awful.
Look, a window closes on her hand. Isn't that scary?
Where the fuck did they get this? These pagan Indians making human sacrifices and shit. I'm like, the Aztecs or Maya, maybe, but that was in fucking Mexico and Central America. They were doing that shit in fucking Long Island. Goddamn it!
Amityville Horror. It's not stupidly written. It's also racist.
Seriously, yes. I mean, dear God, what the fuck? I mean, yeah, it's those damn Native Americans. Let's blame the Indians. I mean, oh my God, it was just so awful. I mean, you wanted a much clever haunted house movie like that. Get Poltergeist. Just watch Poltergeist.
I'm actually not a huge fan of Poltergeist.
Yeah. I still love. You know, it was a favorite since I was a kid. You know, that and Halloween were my first real horror films. You know, I can't even be sure which one I saw first, honestly. But I mean, Poltergeist it's been a favorite since I was a kid. You know, for a movie that was PG. I mean, that's a pretty scary film.
I respect it for that.
Yeah,
because that's when PG had fucking balls.
Seriously, yeah, there was no PG-13. Yeah, yeah. So I mean, you can get away with
exploding a gremlin in a microwave.
Yes, PG. PG. There you go. Exactly.
Oh my God, a guy shoots from far away. You can't see any blood. PG-13.
PG-13.
He says fuck twice. Or fucking MPA makes no fucking sense.
They really don't.
Oh, a kid gets eaten. Oh, you see a naked woman running into the water. She gets eaten by a shark. PG.
Yeah. Literally.
Jaws. I was like, wait,
Jaws,
what are you talking about? I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot the opening scene.
Yeah, Jaws. Yeah. Yep. So, but I mean, yeah, it was just god awful. I mean, you said, when we were talking about it, I was watching it. You were like,
on his face.
Yeah, like just get through it, man. Just get through it. Which I'm too much of a completionist. I'm like, okay, I've got to just.
At the end, when he's like going back, I was like pressing the forward button.
Yeah,
like, okay, when is this shit gonna fuck?
Yeah, and I get the point. Yeah, I mean, any of us would have gone back for the dog, but like, why did you put that in there? It's already too long to begin with. I mean, why'd you put that in there? It felt
like 5 hours. Like it felt like fucking 5 hours.
It really did. It's just a poorly done horror film. I mean, you know, the priest just kind of sits in there as the flies are gathering around him. He just sitting there randomly. The voice actually has to tell him to get out twice. The first time he's like, that's curious. A voice.
I'm going to continue my work.
Seriously. I mean, the house just told you to get the fuck out.
Oh, hello.
Get the fuck out,
Lord. God just spoke to me. This must be a sign.
Exactly. It's like the epitome of stupid white people moving into, you know, houses where 20 people have been murdered. They even talk about like, what about the murders? That's no big deal. It's like, okay, right.
As Devin said in his Halloween 6 review, it's like me moving into John Wayne Gacy's house.
Yeah, right, exactly. Who the fuck? What to? Jesus Christ!
And this.
Well, yeah.
And if you look, and if you look over here, you can see that is where Mr. Smith chopped off his wife and his kids with an axe.
Yeah, really. Yeah. Okay. I believe they tore down his house.
Great price.
Yeah, they tore down his house. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Let's say, well, like Dahmer, the apartment, they tore down the whole damn apartment building.
Oh yeah.
The residents couldn't even sleep. Just sad. But,
yeah.
That's another actually I considered putting on because I wanted to review that, but I'm not even sure how to review it because I feel really weird putting like on there. And the series Dahmer, like it was well done. It was well done.
I liked it.
I did like it as far as it. I liked it, but it felt exploitive, honestly.
Yeah,
It felt
the victims'
exploitive.
families didn't have
Yeah.
a part into
I mean,
it, and
yeah,
because and also
they
it doesn't
did
help
not
that Twitter
ask-
and TikTok are they got the serial killer worship there.
Yeah,
Evan
yeah,
Peters
true,
is
exactly. I
And
mean,
that's-
like one of my students the other day said, Mr. Thomas, I'm gonna dress up like Jeffrey Dahmer. I'm like, please don't.
No.
Please don't.
No.
Well, but yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm like, no, dude, please don't. That's just tasteless, man. Come on.
Yeah, come
Yeah.
on. I mean, and the show was right. There were women that there are still women that's like, oh yeah, Jeffrey Dahmer. I love
By
him.
the
Like
way,
you guys,
I just wanted to tell everyone 4-minute warning. Going to try and get off in
guys-
4 minutes.
Okay.
like, you,
All right.
you stupid people knew he was gay, right? He wouldn't be into
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Well, Ted Bundy was, and there was a lot of serial killer worship there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Jesus. My mother talked a lot about him and said about how women could not actually believe, many women, especially younger women, many women could not actually believe that he was guilty because they thought he was handsome.
Yeah.
It's the
We would all be
eyebrows.
fucked.
Yeah, seriously.
We would, you
That
three,
guy, he
yeah,
looks
you're
like
definitely
it, yeah.
serial killers. You're all
That
fucking
beard
ugly
is
as
fucked. Yeah,
shit.
he looks like it. Mhm.
But Ryan
He definitely
Gosling,
will.
nah, he can't be a serial killer.
Nah, no way. Jesus, no. Oh man. But some other
I feel
films
bad
like
for his kid. I
yeah,
feel really
Yeah.
bad for her.
yeah.
Like,
But
you
I
gotta-
thought, what about some other films you guys thought were overrated or underrated?
yeah, I
Well-
actually did want to name a couple.
Yeah.
Real quick, Amityville Horror, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
The Shining, which I already mentioned
Yeah.
before.
Mhm.
The movie I almost picked, One Cut of the Dead. I don't know if either of you have seen that. Have either of you seen that?
I don't think so. What is it called again?
It's One Cut of the Dead. It's a zombie movie.
Sounds
I've heard of this.
Don't research it. Just
Yeah.
watch the movie. I personally didn't like it. I don't want to get into it because even though I personally didn't enjoy it, I don't want to ruin it for other people because they might like it. The remake of The Evil Dead, everybody loves that, even though it's crap. Remake of Dawn of the Dead, did not care for it.
Yeah.
Don't Look Now, boring fucking slog of a movie. I love Edgar Wright, but I question, like, why the fuck do you love that movie so much? Like, I don't that. And then another underrated, overrated, similar to Audition, where like you have this tiny niche group of people that say it's the greatest thing ever. Let's Scare Jessica to Death. That, oh my God. I respect it, but it is not a fucking good movie. That is overrated, very overrated from its niche group.
Yeah.
Ugh, worst.
Yeah.
Some more like overrated ones.
Yeah.
I mean, Mark and I definitely agree on this Blair Witch Project.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
I agree too. I saw
Yeah.
it and it was crap. I like
It
the
was.
sequel more. Blair
I
Witch.
saw it in the theaters and I hated it. From the
Yeah,
moment
like
I saw it, yeah.
it sucked.
And I look
It's
forward to it so much too. Yeah.
Idiots screaming in the woods. If I wanted to do
Oh,
that,
good
I'd
God.
fucking get drunk on a Saturday.
Oh,
Really?
Jesus Christ. Has there ever been a good found footage movie? I mean,
Well,
Plenty.
there's Chronicle.
Chronicle, The House is October Built, Troll Hunter, the movie I'm watching now.
I love this kid. But I'm sorry.
Oh, The House is October Built and Troll Hunter are also very good.
Oh,
Those are
okay.
found footage.
I guess for the remaining seconds for mine, I wanted to do a little film I saw on Netflix, Veronica, little Spanish horror film made by Paco Plaza, who did movie you've seen. He did Wreck.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, yeah.
My dad's friend said it was like the scariest movie he's ever seen.
And see, that's the problem with it. It was they overhyped the film as the scariest film ever, and they set it up for failure. Because no film can. It's not the scariest movie ever, but I did like it because the kids do an amazing job acting. Actually, Paco Plaza did a fantastic job directing the mood, the atmosphere. I mean, even though it's nothing necessarily new, it's effectively done. So I mean, just
there goes
going
the
to
4-minute warning. Fuck it, we're just
Yeah.
gonna continue until people have nothing left to
I
say.
was going to stop
Fuck
there
it.
just because, you know.
Fuck
Yeah.
it. No,
What?
Devin hasn't said anything yet.
Okay,
he's gonna
go ahead,
continue.
Devin.
Some underrated ones. I brought up Lords of Salem because that's one of the few where Rob Zombie restrained himself. There's not a lot of his trademark cringe. There's not a lot of constant swearing. I can only name one line of dialogue where I actually cringed.
That's impressive for Rob Zombie.
And that was you want to stick her cock and stick your nosy cock in her brain and fuck her in her head and fuck her brain.
Well, that's certainly better than "Welcome from Transylvania."
It's better. It's better than stick your fingers inside your twat and finish yourself off.
Oh, Rob
Jesus
Zombie,
Christ.
please change. I
Let me
say
see
never
them
change.
big old
Please
floppy
change.
titties.
Psycho Gorman. Psycho Gorman's a great one. Predator 2, Halloween 4, Friday the 13th Part 5.
I'll have to rewatch it because I remember at the time I didn't like it because obviously I was a kid, and no Michael, I just felt lied to because they marketed the film as, hey, Jason's back, Jason's back, and no, he wasn't. So I felt lied to.
That sounds kind of familiar.
Yes, it does. But what?
Uh,
But I was going to mention another one I saw that I really liked. I rewatched it and I still like it. The Ritual. Not a great one.
Yeah, I gotta watch that.
Great.
Yeah, it is a really great. I love it. It's kind of like the Blair Witch Project, except done right with actual mature adults instead of annoying ass kids. So
I actually have a bunch of underrated ones.
Yeah,
I feel like even though it's beloved nowadays, it's still not as beloved as the first two entries. Day of the Dead, easily the best of the original trilogy. Ghost Stories, less you know about that, the better. It's a British anthology film. Weird, but very good. Son of Frankenstein. Everyone says Bride of Frankenstein is better than Frankenstein. Son of Frankenstein is better than Bride of Frankenstein.
Oh, Son of Frankenstein is great.
Son of Frankenstein is so good. Like, I remember when James Rolfe was talking about it, he's like, "Oh yeah, it's even better than Bride of." Like, really? Because I just watched Bride of Frankenstein. Well, I eventually watched Bride of Frankenstein. I'm like, can't get better than this. It gets better. I'm like, damn, this is really fucking good. And don't get me wrong, I love Bride of Frankenstein purely for Dr. Pretorius, because that man is a fucking gay icon, and I don't give a fuck who doesn't know it. So he's awesome.
I didn't see you there. Good evening.
But he's so good. That would be like the one thing that's better than Son of Frankenstein, but Son of Frankenstein as a whole is better than Bride. Then, speaking of David Bruckner, The Night House, excellent movie. It's one of those movies. If this is gonna sound fucked up, but like, trust me on this, is if you've lost someone recently, everything makes sense after you watch it. Like, I don't know how to explain that better, but The Night House is just one of those movies that's just explores grief perfectly. And if you like, I recently lost someone after and then I watched that, and I'm like, everything makes sense now.
Yeah.
In terms of what my feelings are after this happened, everything fucking makes sense now. Like, it's just like, because grief is a very messy thing. So you like you don't know, like, you go through so many emotions, you feel all these things, you like, everything is just so confused and you're depressed, and it's just like everything's a mess. But the Night House puts everything into perspective, and everything just clicks. And I know that sounds really terrible, but it that's how the movie works for me personally. I think anybody who watched it would work for them. Next of Kin, surreal Australian movie, very weird, very good though. The Night Walker, real quick, Devin. The Night Walker, underrated William Castle movie, shows he was a good director without gimmicks. Just a really well done and surreal movie about dreams. So highly recommend. I have some more, but Devin, what do you have to say?
2 words. The Gate.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Is that the movies with young Steven Dorff?
Yes.
Mhm.
Ah, yes, I do know.
Excellent.
Yes. Yes. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but I remember loving that when I was a kid. Really good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yes. Yes. Very good.
What else do I have? The Hidden, really good. Early, actually no, like post Freddy, pre-popular New Line Cinema, a movie. Great. It's got
What's it called again?
The Hidden. It's got Kyle MacLachlan and
I think I've heard of
who
that.
else is there? Oh, I forget the main guy's name, but very good, very weird. It's like about this like parasitic being that's like going into different people and enjoys the excess of humanity. It's really good, really awesome. It's kind of has action sci-fi vibes, but also really good. It's Alive, pinnacle of amazing 70s cinema. It should be stupid schlock, but it's excellent. It's Alive is so well done, and I feel like it's one of those movies that'll hit you even harder after you have children.
Oh, boy.
So It's Alive, extremely well done. Main guy, I'm blanking on his name, Frank, I believe the character's name is. So good. Oh my God, when he's in the sewer talking to his son is just brutal and heart-wrenching and wonderfully written and wonderfully showcased, wonderfully acted, wonderfully directed. I like, just for that scene alone, it's just perfect 70s cinema. Then Serpents and the Rainbow. I love Wes Craven, but this is him restrained, and it's beautifully done. I'm blanking on the guy's name. The villain. Oh my God, big character actor. So good, so good. Bill Pullman's great. The main actress is great. It's Wes Craven restrained and grounded, because he was definitely over exaggerated in a lot of his movies, like People Under the Stairs. Also great. Don't get me wrong, but Serpent in the Rainbow was him restrained, and highly recommend it. The Faculty, the one Kevin Williamson movie that doesn't suck. Dead and Buried. Jack Albertson's final performance, more so known as Grandpa Joe from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Great movie. Even though it was made in the 80s, 70s movie through and through. Brilliantly crafted, dreary, atmospheric, tension-filled. Main guy was great. God Told Me To, another great Larry Cohen movie. And then finally, 28 weeks later, better than the original. There, I said it. So I had a lot of underrated movies, like, and this was just one page of like Letterboxd that I was going through. I swear, if I kept going, this would have been like 10 hours long, because there's so many great underrated movies out there. Sorry that I went on a tangent.
No, not at all. Not at all.
But
I
it was,
enjoyed
oh
it.
my God, there's just so many great, like God Told Me To. Oh my God, another great 70s movie. Oh my God, so fucking good.
Yeah.
70s horror was amazing.
It was like this, doing this video and just only picking 2 was so hard.
Yeah, it really was. Yeah.
But I know, look what 2 movies gave us time. We're almost at 2 hours now.
Exactly.
Imagine if we did more.
But then again, we also talked about other stuff in between.
I know, but still, it's
The Exorcist 3
still,
and all that.
If we talked about 3, it would be 4 hours long.
Oh God, yeah. Jeez.
I know.
But oh God. Ooh, this has been fun.
Overrated. I mean, obviously we talked about Friday the 13th. Honestly, the whole series is kind of crap, other than 4, 6, maybe 7.
Guys,
4, 6, maybe 7. I mean,
but she makes coffee, Mark.
Oh God, Jesus Christ, man.
They play strip Monopoly, Mark.
I look back as a kid. I loved Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street. I would just flock to the theater whenever one would be released, and like an idiot. And I look back and think, what the hell was I thinking? I mean, I was a kid.
I liked Home Alone 3 when I was a kid. Come on.
Yeah,
like Son of the Mask and Master of Disguise in the live-action Scooby-Doo.
True. I mean, I still have kind of a fondness for them just because of that, because they were favorites when I was a kid.
But to be fair, Nightmare on Elm Street has still aged well. Most of those
Yeah.
movies are good.
Most of them are, and I think Robert Englund really carries them. You know, I mean, Robert Englund really carries that franchise. I mean, even in the bad ones, he's still fun to watch.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Mark, we were talking earlier. You brought up one horror movie a classic horror movie you found overrated.
Oh, Dracula.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dracula. Yeah. Oh, I found Dracula to be overrated. Honestly, I don't even like Bela Lugosi's performance. I mean, I respect it. I understand how important it was and what he did for the character. And I understand that was just kind of the style at the time. And he was more of a theatrical performer because it was originally a play. But it just grates on me. I just cannot even, I can't stand it.
Yeah. It doesn't help the sound is really bad because it's an early sound movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's kind of sucks as well.
Yeah, that one
but I'm really curious
loved.
what I think and you think of if you ever get around to watching it, the Spanish Dracula.
Oh yeah,
I've heard that's also much better. Yes. Like it's more innovative with its camera work. The guy is also really good, and everyone does and Spanish productions had more balls. They showed a vampire bite. They didn't even talk about it in the original movie. They showed a vampire bite on her neck. Oh my God!
They had the Spanish Inquisition, and you know, I mean, they don't give a shit. I mean, you know, they didn't care. Like, we've done worse. You know?
Guys, in the first Frankenstein movie, they censored the line "In the name of God." Now I know what it feels like to be God.
Be God, exactly. Yes, fantastic line. And Colin Clive will always.
Or they had to grind Day the Earth Stood Still to a halt to say, "Oh, hey, you're resurrecting like God? No, I can't do that. God can only do that." Like, oh my God, like fucking really.
Get it?
But honestly, that is one of my favorite lines in all cinema. Seriously, that is one of my favorite lines. In the name of God, now I know what it feels like to be God. And the way Colin Clive delivers it is just fantastic.
So good.
Yes. Yes.
And then The Mummy is also really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Invisible Man is great.
Nika has a figure of him now, the Mummy. Boris Karloff has the Mummy. I want to really get.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. But Invisible Man is fucking funny. Like it's come on, it's silly.
Yeah.
He's skipping. It's just a fucking pair of pants just skipping down the road singing. You may go gathering nuts and may on a cold and busty morning. Come on, it's funny.
Yeah. But although I will say the best Hammer movie is definitely The Mummy as well.
Curse of Frankenstein for me.
Curse of Frankenstein's good. Horror Dracula. Couldn't get it. Couldn't get behind it. Christopher Lee and
don't get into it either.
Peter Cushing are great. Movie is eh.
You know, I realized now as a kid that it was really Christopher Lee, that Dracula movie that made me fall over the character. You know, it certainly wasn't the original with Bela Lugosi or the novel, because once I read the novel, the novel is crap too. I hated the novel. I'm like, dear God, it's just so bad. I mean, you don't feel any real sense of terror or dread. The language is far too flat. I mean, yeah, I know that was just the style of writing in the Victorian age, but dear God, it's hard to get through. You know, it's so overdone.
I couldn't get through that or Frankenstein. I know you like Frankenstein, but I just couldn't.
I liked Frankenstein. I did like that, but I understand. I get it. Believe me, because I mean, like, what's even worse, honestly, is Moby Dick. I struggled.
Oh my God, my sister hated Moby Dick.
I hate that novel. I wrote the most scathing review of that novel, how much I hated it, and I did so poorly on it.
Oh my God.
I don't care. I don't give a damn. I hate that. I hate that book. I remember reading this book called The Kitchen House. Yeah.
When I was in college.
Yeah.
And I just wrote this long essay of like why I thought the book was awful.
Yeah.
And I brought up the example.
Yeah.
It is over 1,000 pages.
Yeah.
And I found that more interesting than a book that was only like 200 to 300 pages.
That's the thing about Moby Dick. It really should only be 200 to 300 pages. That's a story you could tell in 200 to 300 pages. It could honestly be a short story or novella. But I mean, he just goes, like, he spends a whole page describing a fucking door. Describing a door. That's it.
Yeah. That
Sounds like
sounds
the
like
American
Diana
Psycho novel.
Gabaldon with her Outlander series.
Oh my
She
god!
like
Or
spends
Robert Jordan.
she spends like 3
Yeah.
pages describing a blade of grass.
Dude,
Well,
that
Robert
Because my mom
Jordan.
and my sister read those books and they're like, they're good, but fuck, does she go on tangents?
Robert
Dude.
Jordan did the same thing. Every time Robert Jordan described, some new city or anything, he would go pages and pages and pages just to describe. It's like, dude, come on, get on with it. Get on with it.
Get on with it. I don't have
Oh,
that.
I am enjoying this scene. Get on with it.
Get on with it.
Anyway,
Get
on to
with
scene
it.
24, which is a special scene with some lovely acting. But Brian, the American Psycho novel,
Yeah.
did that over and over again. Like he's describing, like the articles of clothing they're wearing, who made them, the origin. I mean, Stephen King does
At
that
least
too, and I will
kinda
admit I
makes
kind of don't
sense,
like when he does
'cause
that
the
either.
whole point is like 80s excess, yuppie
Yeah.
culture. Like you have to
Yeah.
describe like,
True.
oh, it's a fucking Rolex or this or that.
Yeah.
That's kind of understandable though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, we're 2 hours.
We're over 2 hours.
Wow.
Let's start
Stephen King,
to-
his characters tend to be like dressed the same. They're going to be wearing a pair of chinos, probably. And I didn't even know what chinos were for a long time because down here in the South we call them khakis. I'm like,
I
what
call
the
them
hell are chinos?
khakis.
Yeah, I'm like, what the hell are chinos? I mean,
I thought you were
I've
talking
had to
about
ask
right
my
back.
mom, like, what the hell are chinos? It's like khakis, son. So I mean,
for a second. I thought when you said Chino, I thought you were talking about the singer of Deftones, Chino Marino. I'm like, oh, I love Deftones.
yes, the singer of Death Tones. Yes, exactly. They're wearing the singer of Death Tones. But
I wouldn't mind. Honestly, like I wouldn't mind seeing a more faithful adaptation. Because honestly, like with the It movies,
mhm.
I like the first one.
Yeah,
I have a love-hate relationship with the second one.
yeah, I get it.
If you're going to adapt It,
Mm-hmm.
do it as a TV show.
Thank you.
There's
Yes,
so much
yes,
that I would have loved to see in those movies.
yes.
So much stuff I would have liked to see in It Chapter 2, and for some reason they decided to make it a fucking horror comedy. Missed opportunity.
Yes.
There's a good movie
Yeah.
in there somewhere. It's like the Kenneth Branagh Frankenstein.
Yeah.
There's a good movie in there
And it started
somewhere.
out so good because you had the scene from the book that you didn't have in the miniseries with the gay guy getting killed. The gay couple. And the guy getting killed is like, damn. I'm glad they put that in. That was one of my favorite scenes from the book. Yeah. And then it just falls fucking apart from there. Jesus. They actually had the ritual of Chud in there,
but they did it wrong.
Yeah, they did it completely wrong. Yeah, they really did. Yeah.
Well, to be fair, in the original book, it was children fucking smoking hallucinogens, so like they couldn't have that in the
Oh,
fucking
come
movie.
on. The smoke hole scene was in the book was so cool.
But it had children. They couldn't show that. Like that would have been like a fucking NC-17.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, true. If you show anybody smoking nowadays, dear Lord. So, yeah.
All right, so try to end in about a minute and a half. So let's just wind down because if we keep going, we'll keep going for like 5 hours. But this has been the first Monster Madness live show. We got one more this month where we'll discuss topics that I don't want to talk about yet because it's a surprise. So this has been our underrated and overrated horror films. Agree or disagree, please sound off in the comments. Cinematic Sterling and KitchenAid Whiskey Jones. Their links should be in the description along with the rest of my other Monster Madnesses. So anything you would like to say before we end this discussion? Quickly, please.
Tonight's Monster Madness stream is brought to you by Dollar Shave Club.
Oh my God.
We're not sponsored. I'm not sponsored. I'm not getting any money from this.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
You can tell I use razors, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I use a nice razor. But anyway, that's it for today. Please join us again for not next one, but the October 28th, same time. Maybe not as long, but the next video should be on the 17th. and that'll be a how to fix video. But until then, we will see you guys later.